Leave. Only family is allowed here. My father said that to me at my own sister's wedding after I had spent 18 hours on a plane just to be there. I was standing on a gravel path lined with white roses, my carry-on still in my hand, listening to a string quartet drifting through the doors of a venue I wasn't allowed to enter. My mother stood 2 steps behind him and said nothing. Not my name. Not a single word. 3 days later, she called me about a bill. A $38,000 bill with my name on it for a wedding I wasn't even allowed to attend. What I said next made her go completely silent. My name is Dana Whitman. I'm 34 years old. I work in regulatory compliance consulting based in London. Now let me take you back 4 months earlier to the day I received a wedding invitation I never should have trusted. Growing up in the Whitman household, there were 2 completely different childhoods happening under the same roof. There was Lila's version. The version with homecoming dresses, birthday dinners at real restaurants, and a silver sedan waiting in the driveway on her 16th birthday, paid for by a father who called her his brightest girl, like it was an undisputed fact. And then, there was mine. The version where I filled out my own college applications alone at the public library, because no one reminded me deadlines were approaching. The version where I learned early that asking for help usually came with a cost, so it was easier not to ask at all. My father, Russell Whitman, ran a small home improvement supply shop on the outskirts of Savannah, Georgia. He talked about it like it was a thriving business, something substantial, something impressive. In reality, it was a worn-down concrete unit with a rusted sign, a leaking roof, and a revolving door of part-time workers who never stayed long. My mother, Elaine, managed the house and kept things peaceful, which mostly meant agreeing with whatever my father said and redirecting any tension somewhere quieter. That somewhere was usually me. Lila was 5 years younger than I was. She was naturally charming, effortlessly likable, and completely certain that the world worked the way it did because it was supposed to work in her favor. I don't say that with bitterness. I say it because it explains everything that came after. She didn't question why things were easier for her, and no one ever asked why they were harder for me. That was simply how things were. Before we continue, take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if this story truly resonates with you. By doing so, you're not just supporting the channel, you're becoming someone who adds real value to this community. Let me know where you're listening from and what time it is there. I always love seeing how far these stories reach. This is a fictional story inspired by real-life experiences, with some elements enhanced by AI to make it more vivid. I hope it leaves a lasting impression and gives you a meaningful, engaging experience. I left home at 18 with a partial scholarship to Georgia State University and a savings account I had built from tutoring and part-time work. Nobody drove me to campus. Nobody helped me carry boxes or set up my room. I didn't expect them to. 7 years ago, at 27, I accepted a position with Holloway and Pierce Advisory in London. Compliance analysis. The kind of work where you read contracts line by line looking for what doesn't belong. The detail that shouldn't be there. The clause that looks right until you really look at it. I was good at it. I had been training for it my whole life without realizing it. I bought a 1-bedroom flat in Canary Wharf. Small, clean. Mine. Every square foot paid for with money I earned myself. I didn't leave home. Home left me first. The invitation arrived on a Tuesday in late September, tucked inside a thick cream envelope with a foil-stamped return address. It was the kind of stationery people use when they want something to look important. I noticed the weight immediately. Someone had spent real money on this. Inside was a formal invitation to the wedding of Lila Whitman and Brent Holloway to be held at Rosebridge Manor in Savannah, Georgia. December 14th. Black tie optional. Rosebridge Manor. I looked it up that same night. Restored estate grounds, crystal chandeliers, perfectly trimmed gardens, packages starting at $25,000. For a family that used to delay fixing a leaking roof at the store because it was too expensive, this wasn't just ambitious, it was a stretch. What stopped me wasn't the venue, it was the note. A separate card handwritten in Lila's looping script. It wouldn't be complete without you. Please come. Just my name at the bottom. No explanation, no context, just enough warmth to feel intentional. 7 years. In 7 years, my parents had called me exactly when they needed something. A question about co-signing a loan that my father quickly withdrew when I asked details. A medical bill my mother wanted help understanding. Lila sent birthday texts. Sometimes Christmas was reduced to a group message. And now this. An invitation? A handwritten note. Something that sounded almost like it mattered. I booked the flight that weekend. Heathrow to Savannah, connecting through Atlanta. Economy. $1,400 round trip. I told myself I wasn't going because I had forgiven anything. I told myself I just wanted to see if they had changed. There's a difference between forgiveness and curiosity. I was holding on to the second one with both hands. Maya Collins, my closest friend from college now, a paralegal at a law firm in Atlanta, texted me as soon as I told her. "You're actually going bold move." I should have listened to her tone. I landed in Savannah on a Friday evening in December. The airport smelled like cinnamon sugar and jet fuel, and everything felt familiar in a way that didn't quite feel like home anymore. The accents, the humidity that lingered even in winter, the slow rhythm of people moving through the terminal. I picked up a rental car and drove to a hotel near downtown. I never stayed at my parents' house when I visited. That had been true for years. No one questioned it anymore. From the hotel room, I called Lila. It rang 5 times before she picked up. "Hey," she said too quickly. "You made it." "Just checked in," I said. "Anything I should know about tomorrow?" "Just be at the venue by 2. Ceremony starts at 3. Her voice had that clipped edge, the kind people use when they're not alone and don't want to say too much. "I've gotta go," she added. "Rehearsal stuff." "See you tomorrow." "See you tomorrow." She hung up before I could say anything else. I stared at the phone for a second, then called my mother. Elaine picked up on the second ring. "Oh. You actually came." The words landed quietly, but they didn't feel neutral. I thought, well, the flight is long. I figured you might change your mind. I sat on the edge of the hotel bed, still in my coat suitcase, upright by the door, and let that settle. She didn't say she was glad. She didn't say she was looking forward to seeing me. She said she didn't expect me to show up. I told her I'd be at the venue by 2 and ended the call. Something was off. Not obvious. Not loud. Just a shift you can feel before you can explain it. Like the pressure change on a plane when your ears haven't caught up yet. I didn't sleep well that night. Saturday, December 14th. I wore a fitted navy dress I had bought on Regent Street for exactly this occasion. Low heels, pearl studs, nothing flashy. Just enough to say I belonged somewhere without trying too hard to prove it. Rosebridge Manor sat at the end of a long gravel drive lined with bare oak trees wrapped in white lights. Through the tall front windows I could see chandeliers flickering softly. A string quartet was warming up something classical, drifting out across the hedges. My father was standing at the entrance, not inside greeting guests, not at the ceremony. Outside, on the gravel. Hands in the pockets of a charcoal vest I had never seen before, standing beside a black SUV that still had a temporary dealer plate on it. He saw me and stepped forward. "Dana, you need to leave." I stopped walking. "Excuse me, only family is allowed. You weren't invited." I held up the invitation, the actual embossed card with my name printed clearly on it. "I have the invitation right here." "That was a mistake," he said flatly. "You shouldn't have come." I looked past him. Through the glass doors I could see Lila in a white designer gown laughing with one of her bridesmaids. My mother stood just inside the entrance in a pale lavender dress watching us through the window. She didn't come outside. She didn't wave. Dana, don't make a scene, my father said quietly. The guests are inside. Just walk away. I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I didn't cry. Not there. I turned around, pulled my suitcase back across the gravel, and walked to the rental car. I didn't cry until the doors were locked and the engine was running. And even then, I wasn't crying for the wedding. I was crying because I had let myself hope. Back at the hotel, I sat on the bed in the same navy dress shoes still on, staring at the muted television for what felt like an hour. The room smelled faintly of carpet cleaner and the lavender sachet I always kept in my carry-on. A completely different world from chandeliers and music drifting through open doors. I called Maya at 8. They did what her voice cut through the phone, instantly sharp and disbelieving. I told her everything, my father stopping me at the entrance, my mother watching from inside. Lila laughing in her dress while I stood outside holding an invitation no one honored. I want to go home, I said. I'm rebooking my flight. Don't. Not yet. Maya listened to me. No. You listen to me. Something about this doesn't make sense. I leaned back against the headboard, closing my eyes. They sent you an invitation. Your sister wrote you a note. You flew halfway across the world and they turned you away at the door. That doesn't just happen for no reason. I wanted to argue. I wanted to say my family was fully capable of cruelty without needing a reason, that sometimes people hurt you simply because they can. But Maya had spent years working in legal offices. She had learned how to hear what wasn't being said. Give it a few days, she said. Stay in Savannah. If nothing happens, go home Sunday. But something is going to happen. I can feel it. I didn't believe her. I opened my laptop, pulled up the airline site, and scrolled through flights for the next morning. My finger hovered over the confirm button. I didn't click it. Maybe some part of me felt it too. 3 days passed. No calls, no messages, nothing. I stayed in the hotel working remotely from the desk by the window, reviewing compliance reports for a client in Zurich who had no idea my personal life had just collapsed. That was the comfort of my job. Documents didn't lie, they didn't pretend. They didn't leave you standing outside wondering what just happened. They either said what they meant, or they didn't. And if they didn't, it was my job to find out why. Contracts don't have feelings. They don't care about intentions or excuses. They simply say what they say. On Monday, I made the mistake of opening Instagram. Lila's feed had exploded. Rosebridge Manor glowing in golden light. Lila and Brent standing under an arch of white roses. The cake 5 tiers perfectly iced. Expensive enough that I could estimate the cost just by looking at it. Hashtags everywhere. Hashtag Whitman wedding, hashtag perfect day, hashtag forever, Holloway. Dozens of photos. Not one of me, not one mention of me. As if I didn't exist. As if I hadn't flown 18 hours. As if I hadn't stood outside that entrance holding an invitation that was supposed to mean something. Then I saw my mother's post. Elaine had uploaded a collage, Lila as a baby, Lila at prom, Lila walking down the aisle with my father, and at the bottom a photo of me and Lila as children, maybe 8 and 3, sitting on the porch in matching dresses. The caption read, "So proud of both my girls." I stared at that word. Both. She had posted that for an audience, for relatives, for neighbors, for anyone watching. She couldn't explain why one daughter wasn't in any of the wedding photos, so she reached back into the past and pulled out evidence that didn't reflect the present anymore. Meanwhile, Lila posted a story. Honeymoon countdown. Bali. Tagged location at a luxury resort. I closed the app. Shut the laptop. Ate vending machine crackers for dinner. Some performances you can watch. Others, you just survive. Tuesday morning, my phone rang at 9:15. Mom. I almost didn't answer. But there's a rule in my line of work. You don't ignore a call when you don't know what the other side is holding. Dana. Her voice had no warmth in it. No greeting. No hesitation. We need to discuss the bill. What bill? The venue. Rosebridge Manor. The total is $38,000. A pause. Thin. Sharp. How will you pay? I sat up straight. Mom, what are you talking about? I didn't book any venue. You signed the contract. You're the guarantor. Your name is on the agreement. For a second the room felt like it tilted. I hadn't signed anything. I hadn't been asked to sign anything. I didn't even know there was a contract. I never signed a single document for that wedding. There was movement on the other end of the call. Then my father's voice came on. Hard. Close. Don't play dumb, Dana. Your name is on that contract. You're the guarantor. You owe this family. I owe this family for a wedding you didn't even let me attend. We'll talk about that later. Right now, you need to handle the bill. Dad, I didn't sign anything. Then who did? A ghost? I pressed my palm flat against the desk. My heart was racing, but my voice stayed steady. You keep saying contract and my signature. I'm telling you, I have never signed a guarantor agreement for that venue or anything related to this wedding. He hung up. Just like that. I sat there in the hotel room letting the words repeat in my head. Contract. Your signature. Guarantor. I knew exactly what those words meant. I read contracts for a living, and I knew exactly what a forged signature meant under the law. I also knew what questions to ask next. That was the moment something shifted. I stopped being hurt, and I started paying attention. I called Rosebridge Manor at 10:30 that morning. The front desk transferred me to event coordination. A woman named Karen Whitfield answered. Professional. Controlled. The kind of voice that deals with high-pressure situations every day without reacting. Ms. Whitfield, my name is Dana Whitman. I'm calling about the Whitman-Holloway wedding held on December 14th. I understand there is a guarantor agreement associated with that event. Yes, she said. We do have a guarantor on file. And Dana Whitman, that's my name. But I did not sign that document. Silence. The kind that tells you someone just stopped what they were doing. Ms. Whitman, she said slowly, can you repeat that? I kept my voice steady. I'm telling you that I never signed a guarantor agreement for this wedding. I was not asked and I was not present. I would like to request a copy of that document. Another pause. Longer this time, then carefully controlled. Ma'am, if what you're saying is accurate, this would be a serious matter for our legal department. I understand. I can provide identification to verify who I am. I just need the document. She explained the process. A written request. Proof of identity. Their legal team would send a scanned copy within 48 hours. I thanked her, hung up, and drafted the request in under 15 minutes. Attached a scan of my passport. Sent it. Then I called Maya. It's real, I said. There's a contract with my name on it and I never signed it. She was quiet for exactly 3 seconds. Then she said, Okay, now we work. I had 48 hours before the contract arrived. 48 hours to decide who I was going to be. The calls started the next day. My Aunt Rebecca went first. Warm voice. Practiced tone. Dana, sweetheart, your mother is beside herself. She said you agreed to cover the venue and now you're backing out. I know things are complicated, but think about your parents. I didn't promise anything. I didn't say that out loud. I recognized the script. The story had already been written. Then came my Uncle Martin. A long email. Subject line, family first. 4 paragraphs about loyalty, sacrifice, and how money shouldn't come between blood. It read like he had a relationship with me that didn't actually exist. My cousin Aaron texted, Just pay it. It's easier for everyone. 23 people in the extended Whitman family. 22 of them had been given the same version of events. That I had made a commitment. that I was breaking it, that I was selfish, cold, choosing money over family. I screenshotted everything, every message, every voicemail, every email. In my line of work, there is one rule above all others: document everything, especially when the story being told isn't yours. Then my phone buzzed again, a number I almost didn't recognize. Cousin Luke. Hey, something feels off. Mom keeps saying you promised, but I don't think that's the full story. Wanna talk? Luke was quiet, observant, the kind of person who listened more than he spoke. I typed back, "Not yet, but keep your eyes open." He replied with a thumbs up. One person out of 23. One person who thought to ask. I saved the thread and set my phone down. The contract was coming. Thursday afternoon, Lila called. Her voice was flat. No warmth. No sister in it. "You just need to pay the bill," she said. "You make good money. 38,000 isn't that much for you." "You had me removed from your wedding," I said. "And now you want me to pay for it." "That was Dad's decision. You didn't stop him." Silence. "Look," she continued. "Dad handled the contract months ago. It's done. Just pay it and we can move on. I never signed anything." "Whatever. Dad handled it." "How exactly did he handle it?" "I don't know the details. I just know your name is on it. Just write the check and stop being dramatic. You can afford it." I leaned back in my chair and stared at the ceiling. $38,000. For a wedding I wasn't even allowed to attend. "Lila," I said quietly, "can you tell me one honest thing?" Pause. "Did you know Dad put my name on that contract 5 seconds? 5 seconds is a long time when you're listening closely." "It doesn't matter," she said. "It matters to me. You left this family, Dana. You moved away and disappeared. You don't get to come back and act like the victim." I ended the call. Set the phone down. My hands were steady. Not because I was calm, because something had shifted. She knew. She had known the whole time. And she didn't care. Friday morning, my father called again. His voice was sharper this time. Controlled. Rehearsed. "I spoke to someone who understands real estate law. He says the guarantor contract is binding. You have 30 days to pay or they'll take legal action." Someone. Not a lawyer. Someone. Did he also mention what happens if the signature was forged? Silence? Heavy. "Nobody forged anything," he said slower now. "You're making things up to avoid responsibility. I owe nothing for a wedding I was locked out of. And I'll have the contract today. We'll see what's actually on it. You think you're so smart with your job and your apartment overseas. A judge won't care about any of that. You're welcome to take me to court. But I'd suggest speaking to an actual attorney first." He inhaled sharply. Ungrateful. He hung up before finishing the sentence. He didn't need to finish it. I had heard that word enough times growing up that it had lost its impact, but there was something else. He never denied it. He deflected. He threatened. He attacked. But when I said forged, he went silent first. That silence told me everything. Maya texted me around noon. "Contract should arrive today. You ready?" I looked at my inbox, at the empty space where the email would appear. I had been ready my entire life. I just hadn't known for what. That evening my mother called again. This time alone. Her voice softer. Shaking. "Dana, I'm begging you. Your father hasn't slept. If the venue takes action, we could lose the house." I sat very still. "Mom, you could lose the house because someone forged my name on a contract." "Don't use that word," she snapped. "We didn't forge anything. We used your information because we had no choice." There it was. Not quite an admission, but close enough. "You had a choice," I said. "You could have asked me. You would have said no." "Yes." And that should have been the end of it. Silence. Then her voice changed again. Cold. You've always been like this. Your sister needed this wedding. Your father and I, we had no options. We had your documents, your information. It was already there. So you took my identity and signed my name. You're our daughter. That's what family does. Family asks. She didn't answer that. And I didn't push. Because I didn't need to anymore. The contract was coming. And when it did, the truth wouldn't need help. Don't use that word, my mother said, her voice tightening instantly. We didn't forge anything. We used your information because we had no choice. There it was, buried inside denial. A confession. No choice. You had a choice, I said. You could have picked up the phone and asked me. You would have said no? Yes. And that should have been the end of it. I could hear the kitchen clock ticking faintly through the phone, the same old clock that had hung above the stove my entire childhood. Then her tone shifted again. Cold. You've always been like this, Dana, even as a child. Your sister needed this wedding. Your father and I. Our credit is ruined after the business. The venue required a guarantor. We had your information, your tax records. They were still in your old room. So you took my personal information and signed my name without telling me. We didn't steal anything. You're our daughter. That's what family does. Family asks. You don't understand what we've been through, she snapped. You sit in London in your nice apartment and act like you know everything. I know exactly what you've been through, I said quietly. You just told me. You went through my documents, signed my name on a legal agreement, and then locked me out of the wedding so I wouldn't find out. She started crying. I couldn't tell if it was guilt or frustration. I didn't comfort her. I let the silence sit between us. By Saturday, the pressure started coming from everywhere. My Aunt Rebecca left a voicemail so polished it sounded rehearsed. Think about your parents, sweetheart. Your mother hasn't been well. Is $38,000 really worth your father's health? My Uncle Martin sent another email. Shorter this time. Subject line, disappointed. One sentence stood out. We didn't raise you to be this kind of person. We. As if he had ever had anything to do with raising me. Then my cousin Erin accidentally forwarded a message she wasn't supposed to. A group chat. One I had never been part of. She's being impossible. Mom says she won't budge. 22 people. All discussing me. None of them speaking to me. Then my phone buzzed again. Luke. My cousin. Dana. He wrote something feels off. Aunt Elaine keeps saying you promised, but it doesn't sound right. Just heads up. There's a family brunch next Sunday at my mom's house. She's calling it a discussion, but it sounds more like they're planning to pressure you. I read the message twice. A brunch. An audience. A stage. My mother wasn't trying to resolve anything. She was building a courtroom. What she didn't know was that the contract was already on its way. And what she couldn't imagine was that I would walk into that room with the one thing she was afraid of. Proof. I texted Luke back. I'll be there. Then I called Maya. They're setting up a public intervention, I said. Next Sunday. Good, she said immediately. Good. Yes. Let them. 22 people. One version of the story. And not a single one of them had asked to see the contract. That was about to change. Saturday night, alone in the hotel room, I almost quit. I had the airline website open on my laptop. A seat on the Sunday morning flight back to London. Row 34. Aisle. Change fee already calculated. My cursor hovered over the confirm button. London was 18 hours away. My apartment. My routine. My life that made sense. Then there was a knock on the door. Maya didn't wait for me to answer. She used the spare key card I had given her earlier that week and walked in holding 2 coffees. Close the laptop, she said. I'm just looking. You're running. She set the coffee down and sat at the edge of the bed. And that's exactly what they're counting on, she continued. Your father is betting you'll fly back, pay the bill quietly, and never make him explain anything. I don't care about making him explain himself. This isn't about explanation, she said. It's about making sure they never sign your name again. That landed. Hard. Different from everything else. The venue should send the contract by Monday at the latest, she added. Just wait one more day. I looked back at the screen, the seat, the time, the exit. One more day, I said. One more day. I closed the laptop. Maya stayed for another hour. We didn't talk about the wedding. She told me about a case she was working on. Something normal. Something grounded. After she left, I lay in the dark, fully dressed, staring at the ceiling. I didn't sleep. Not really. Around 2 in the morning, my mind drifted somewhere I usually don't let it go. I was 14. I had won second place in a regional science competition, a project on water filtration. They gave me a small trophy, a certificate in a plastic frame. My mother was supposed to come. She didn't. My father was supposed to drive me. He took Lila to buy new shoes for practice instead. I rode the bus home alone with the trophy in a plastic bag on my lap. That night, I put it on the kitchen counter. The next morning, it was gone. Later, I found it on top of the fridge behind a cereal box. Lila's photo was still front and center. Lying in that hotel room years later, I understood something I had been avoiding. I didn't fly across the world for a wedding. I flew to see if they would finally open the door. They didn't. And the worst part wasn't being turned away. It was realizing I still showed up hoping they wouldn't. I must have fallen asleep at some point. Because when I woke up, my phone had a notification. An email. From Rosebridge Manor. Subject line. Document request. Whitman event. Everything was about to change. I woke up at 7 with my shoes still on and a dull headache behind my eyes. The coffee Maya had left the night before was cold on the nightstand. My phone had one notification. An email. From Rosebridge Manor. Subject line document request. Whitman event. I sat up slowly staring at it. Everything was about to change. Before I could open the attachment, my phone rang. My father. 7:15 on a Sunday morning. Dana. His voice was steady, but it had that controlled edge to it. Like someone gripping the wheel too tightly on a road they didn't trust. I hope you've had time to think this through. The venue has been very patient, but they won't wait forever. Funny, I said. You're calling right now. There's nothing funny about this. I spoke to someone again. He confirmed the contract is enforceable. You signed it. End of story. Did your someone also explain what happens if the signature was forged? Silence. Longer this time. No one forged anything, he said finally. You keep using that word like it means something. It does mean something. It means a felony in Georgia. Another pause. I could hear him breathing. You want to play lawyer? Fine. But don't come crying when a judge sees your name on that contract. I won't be crying. I'll be handing over my passport with my actual signature on it. We'll let the handwriting speak for itself. You're unbelievable. After everything I have the contract, I said. Silence. Complete. The venue emailed it this morning. I haven't opened it yet. I heard him swallow. It was the loudest sound on the line. We'll see whose story holds up, I said. He hung up. No insults, no threats. Just silence, and then the click. I stared at the phone for a second, then turned back to the laptop. I didn't open the file immediately. I needed coffee first. I needed to be steady. While the machine brewed, my phone buzzed again. Luke. He had sent a screenshot. A capture from the family group chat. The one I had never been included in. I zoomed in. My mother's message was at the top. Dana refused to honor her commitment. She's always been selfish. I don't know where we went wrong. My father followed. She makes over $200,000 a year and won't help her own sister. Think about that. Then Lila. I didn't want to say this, but she's always been jealous of me. Even when we were kids. More messages. suggestions to cut me off, comments about loyalty, disappointment. 22 people. Building a version of me that didn't exist. A selfish woman. A cold sister. Someone who had money and chose cruelty. None of them had seen the contract. None of them had asked to. They didn't need facts. They had a story. And stories are easy to believe when they come from your parents. I screenshotted everything. Every message. Every timestamp. Then I opened a note file and organized it all. Chronologically. Clean. Structured. That's what I do. Document everything. Especially when someone else is writing your narrative. Luke texted again. Sorry. I thought you should see it. Thank you, I replied. I mean it, he said. Whatever you're planning, I'm on your side. I set the phone down and looked at the laptop. The email was still open. One attachment. PDF. 11 pages. They were busy deciding who I was. They just didn't realize I could read. I opened the file. Page 1. Event details. Rosebridge Manor. December 14th. Whitman Holloway wedding. Total cost. $38,000. Page 2. Payment terms. 50% deposit upon signing. Remaining balance due within 30 days. Page 3. Guarantor agreement. Clean. Formal. Official. I, Dana Whitman, hereby guarantee full payment of the remaining balance. And at the bottom, a signature. My name. But not my handwriting. I stared at it. Whoever had signed it had tried. The shape was similar. The flow was close. But it wasn't right. The pressure was wrong. The slant was too sharp. The letters didn't connect the way mine did. It looked like someone had copied it from something. Practiced it. Gotten close enough to fool someone who didn't know me, but not close enough to fool me. I reached for my passport. Opened it. There it was. My real signature, clean, consistent, unmistakable. I placed it next to the screen. Compared them. They didn't match. Not even close. That's not my signature, I said out loud. And I can prove it. I called Maya. She picked up immediately. I'm looking at it, I said. How bad? My name. Someone else's handwriting, it's not even close. She exhaled slowly. That's textbook forgery, Dana. Under Georgia law, that contract is void from the beginning. Legally, it never existed. I leaned back in the chair. The room felt different, clearer. They hadn't just lied about me. They had signed my name. Without permission. Without hesitation. And now I had proof. I leaned back in the chair. They didn't just lie about me. They became me on paper. In ink. Without permission. Maya arrived at the hotel within an hour, laptop under her arm, a legal pad already filled with notes. We sat at the small desk by the window, 2 coffees between us. The contract open on the screen. Here's what we do, she said, uncapping a pen. First, you write a formal letter to the venue's legal department. You state clearly that you did not sign the guarantor agreement. You state that the signature is not yours. Then you request a verification process. And attach my passport, I said. Exactly. Your real signature for comparison. She nodded, then continued. We also include a short statement of facts. You were not present when the document was signed. You were never informed about it. And you did not authorize anyone to sign on your behalf. I drafted the letter in 20 minutes. Maya read it twice, adjusted 2 sentences, and added a final line, requesting that the original document be preserved for forensic review. What happens when they confirm it's forged? I asked. The full $38,000 goes back to the actual contracting parties, she said. Your parents. Lila. And if the venue reports it? Maya looked at me carefully. Forgery is a felony in Georgia, but whether they pursue it is their decision, not yours. You're not accusing anyone. You're just stating the truth. I nodded. I don't want to press charges. You don't have to, she said. You just have to tell the truth. I sent the letter with all supporting documents at 2:14 p.m. certified email. Read receipt requested. Then I leaned back and stared at the ceiling. Now what? Now we wait, Maya said. And we prepare for that brunch. She smiled. I didn't. But I didn't book that flight home either. Tuesday afternoon, Luke texted again. Brunch confirmed. Sunday. Aunt Rebecca's house. Noon. Your mom is calling it a family discussion. She says it's to help you see reason. I read the message twice. See reason. Which meant sit me in a room full of people who had already decided I was wrong and apply pressure until I gave in. I texted Maya. They're setting the stage. Sunday. You coming? Yes. You sure they want a public conversation? She replied. They'll get one. Just not the version they planned. The plan was simple. I would bring 3 things: the contract with the forged signature, the letter I had sent to the venue, and my passport open to my real signature. No speeches, no arguments, just documents. Let the paper speak. That's what I do. Lay the facts out and let the room adjust. Luke confirmed the guest list. My parents, Lila and Brent, Aunt Rebecca and Uncle Martin, Cousin Aaron, Luke, a handful of others, about 15 people, 15 people, 1 forged signature, and a family that had already decided who I was without ever asking me. My mother had planned this carefully. She arranged the room, controlled the narrative, prepared the audience. She thought she was setting a trap. What she didn't realize was she was building a stage. I ordered another coffee and opened the contract again. Every page, every clause, every letter of my name written by someone else. My name. No one signs it but me. Thursday morning, the venue's legal department replied. The email was short. Professional, direct. Dear Ms. Whitman, we have received your claim regarding the guarantor agreement associated with the Whitman-Holloway event. Upon preliminary review, we are initiating a signature verification process. During this investigation, all collection activity directed at you has been suspended. We will notify all parties once the process is complete. I read it 3 times. Then I forwarded it to Maya. They wouldn't suspend collection unless they saw something off, she said when she called. This is real. They believe you. 2 hours later, another email came in. Not from legal. From Karen Whitfield, the event coordinator. Subject line, FYI, Ms. Whitman. I shouldn't be sharing this, but I've been thinking about it since your call. I was the one who processed the original guarantor paperwork. I read the message carefully. The person who submitted the signed form was an older gentleman. He came to the front desk and signed the document in person. I remember because he seemed rushed. I stared at the screen. An older man, standing at a counter, signing my name, like it belonged to him. An older man standing at a front desk signing a form with someone else's name. My father. Russell Whitman walked into that venue, picked up a pen, and wrote my name as if it belonged to him, as if I belonged to him. I saved both emails, printed everything at the hotel business center, the contract, the legal response, Karen Whitfield's statement, my passport page, 4 documents. Clean, organized, undeniable. I placed them into a folder and zipped it into my bag. Sunday was 3 days away. The stage was set. All that was left was showing up. Sunday morning, I got dressed carefully. White blouse, navy blazer, dark trousers, low heels. Nothing emotional, nothing reactive. The kind of outfit you wear when you're not there to argue. You're there to present facts. The folder sat on the desk. I checked it one last time. Every page, every line, everything clear. Maya called at 10. How are you, Steady? Good. Call me when it's over. I drove to my Aunt Rebecca's house, a brick home in a quiet neighborhood, wide porch cars already lining the street. My father's truck, a black SUV from the wedding, my Uncle Martin's car. Another one I assumed belonged to Lila and Brent, I sat in the car for a full minute. Engine off. Hands on the wheel. 15 people inside. Most of them had already decided who I was. Most of them believed the version of me they had been given. The selfish sister. The cold daughter. The one who broke a promise. I reached for the folder. Felt the weight of it. 4 documents. 1 truth. Then I stepped out of the car. Walked up the steps. The door was unlocked. Inside I could smell coffee and baked food. Voices from the dining room. Low. Tense. Waiting. I stepped in. 15 faces turned. My father saw me first. His jaw tightened. My mother smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Lila looked down at the table. There was no seat for me. Luke stood up immediately and pulled a chair from the kitchen. I sat. I didn't say anything. I let them begin. My father stood at the head of the table, one hand resting near his plate like he was about to lead a meeting. "I want to thank everyone for coming," he said. "We're here because of a difficult situation." He spoke calmly, controlled. Like this was something he owned. Dana made a commitment to help with Lila's wedding. She signed a contract with the venue, and now she's refusing to honor it. Heads nodded around the table. My Aunt Rebecca folded her hands. My Uncle Martin crossed his arms. They had already chosen their side. My mother spoke next, dabbing at her eyes. "We didn't want this to become public. We always handle things privately. But Dana has left us no choice. It was practiced. Every word. My father, the wronged provider. My mother, the emotional victim. Then Lila, sitting beside Brent, her voice soft. I just wanted my sister at my wedding. I invited her. I wrote her a note. And now she's turned this into a fight about money." Brent hadn't said anything yet. He just watched. My father turned to me. "Dana, this is your chance to do the right thing in front of your family." I stayed silent. I let them finish. Every sentence, every accusation, every performance. Let them build it completely. They would need it. Then the others joined in. Uncle Martin first. "You've always been the responsible one. Just handle it." Aunt Rebecca followed. "Your parents could lose their home. Is that really what you want?" Cousin Erin barely looked up from her phone. "You make good money. This shouldn't even be a discussion." Each voice landed like a verdict, not questions, decisions. I watched Brent. He leaned back slightly, looking between my parents and Lila. Confused. Uncertain. Like he was hearing a version of events that didn't quite line up. He leaned toward Lila and whispered. "What contract?" She touched his arm. "I'll explain later." He didn't look convinced. My father turned back to me, confident now. "See, everyone understands. You made a commitment. We have the contract. You signed it." Aunt Rebecca leaned forward. "Just say yes, Dana. Pay it and we can move on." The room went quiet. Waiting. 15 people. 14 expecting me to give in. 1 watching. I lifted my eyes, and finally I spoke. "I've been listening. Now it's my turn." 15 faces. 14 of them waiting for me to give in. 1 Luke sitting at the corner of the table watching quietly. Focused. Like he already knew what was coming. My father spread his hands slightly. She can't even defend herself. She knows she signed it. I looked at him. Held his gaze. 1 second. 2. 3. Then I stood up. The chair scraped against the floor. The room went completely silent. "I've been listening," I said calmly. "Now it's my turn." I opened the folder and placed the first document in the center of the table. The contract. Printed cleanly. Official. This is the agreement everyone has been talking about. I tapped the page lightly. The guarantor agreement for Lila's wedding at Rosebridge Manor. My name is on it. I paused, then pointed to the signature. But that is not my signature. I took out my passport and placed it beside the contract, opening it to the page with my signature. This is my real signature, the way I've signed my name for years. Look at them, side by side. My Aunt Rebecca reached for the contract first. She leaned closer, comparing the two. My Uncle Martin leaned in. Erin finally put her phone down. The difference was obvious. Not subtle, not arguable. The signatures didn't match. Not when you actually looked. The venue has already confirmed they are investigating the forgery. I continued. I placed the printed email on the table. They've suspended all collection against me while they verify the signature. My father's face changed. The color drained. That's ridiculous, he said quickly. You probably signed it electronically or over the phone. Dad, I said, still calm. The event coordinator confirmed that an older man came in person and signed the document at the front desk. The words landed. I watched it happen. On my aunt's face, on my uncle's, on Brent's. My father opened his mouth. Nothing came out. For the first time in my life, I saw him without an answer. My Aunt Rebecca spoke first. She set the contract down like it had burned her. Russell, is this true? You signed her name? His voice cracked. It was for Lila. We didn't have a choice. Our credit is ruined. The venue required a guarantor. You forged your daughter's signature? My uncle said, standing up now. His face flushed. Do you understand that's a crime? My mother grabbed my father's arm. We were desperate, she said. You don't understand what we've been going through. Desperate, Rebecca's voice sharpened. I asked you last month if Dana had agreed to help. You told me yes. My mother said nothing. At the far end of the table, Brent pushed his chair back. Wait. He turned to Lila. You told me your parents were paying for the venue. You said Dana was just helping with small things. Lila reached for his hand. Brent, please sit down. You knew his voice wasn't loud. It was worse. Controlled. You knew your father signed her name and said nothing. It was complicated. It's not complicated, he said. It's a crime. The room split. My parents on one side, exposed. Lila caught between them. Brent pulling away. Voices rising. Questions overlapping. My mother crying. My uncle demanding answers. And me standing there with the folder still open. I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. The documents were doing exactly what they were supposed to do. They were telling the truth. And the truth was tearing the room apart. I raised one hand. I'm not done. Silence. Immediate. I'm not here to press charges. I looked around the table. At each face. One by one. But there are 3 things everyone here needs to understand. I held up one finger. I never signed that contract. I have 0 legal or moral obligation to pay a single dollar of that $38,000. Second finger. I flew 18 hours to be at my sister's wedding. I stood outside that venue with an invitation in my hand and was turned away by the same person who signed my name without my consent. Third finger. I don't hate anyone here, but I will not carry a debt that was never mine, and I will not apologize for refusing. My mother's voice broke through the silence. Dana, please, Mom. I lowered my hand. I'm done being the person you call only when you need something signed, paid, or blamed. And for the first time, I meant it. My father still hadn't spoken. He was staring at the contract on the table like it was reflecting something back at him he didn't want to see. I gathered the documents slowly, carefully, and placed them back into the folder. Kindness is not a contract, I said, and family is not a blank check. No one stopped me. I tucked the folder under my arm, walked past the table, past the untouched food, past the silence that had finally turned against them instead of me. Luke met my eyes as I passed. He gave a small nod. I walked out the front door, down the steps, and into the cold December light. No one followed. But this time, the silence didn't feel like rejection. It felt like respect. I was halfway to the car when I heard voices through the open window. Brent. Tight. controlled. You lied to me about the money. You lied about your sister. What else did you lie about? Lila's voice smaller now. I didn't lie, I just handled it differently. Your father committed a crime, Brent said. And you knew. It wasn't like that. Then tell me what it was like, he cut in, because right now it looks like I married into a family that forges documents and throws people out of weddings to cover it up. I didn't stay to hear more. I got into the car, placed the folder on the passenger seat, and started the engine. In the rearview mirror, I saw Luke step out of the house and walk toward me. He knocked lightly on the window. I rolled it down. That took courage, he said quietly. You're the one who sent me the screenshots, I replied. You did the hard part. He shoved his hands into his jacket pockets. Your dad hasn't moved. Your mom's locked herself in the bathroom. Lila's trying to stop Brent from leaving. Is he leaving? I don't know. He said he needs space. Luke hesitated, then added, I heard Lila say something about canceling the honeymoon. I let that sink in. Bali. The trip she had been posting about just days ago. Gone. For what it's worth? Luke said most people in that room are on your side now. Even Aunt Rebecca told your dad he should be ashamed. That meant something. Thanks, I said. He nodded once. Drive safe. I pulled away and didn't look back again. The road was empty. The sky was gray. I drove in silence. Some silences are earned. Monday morning, I was checking out of the hotel when the email arrived. From Rosebridge Manor. Subject line: Guarantor Agreement Determination. I opened it, standing at the front desk, suitcase in one hand, phone in the other. Dear Ms. Whitman, following our investigation, including handwriting analysis and staff testimony, we have determined that the guarantor signature on the agreement does not match your verified signature. The agreement is therefore void in its entirety. All financial responsibility for the outstanding balance of $38,000 reverts to the primary contracting parties, Russell Whitman and Elaine Whitman. Voided. Completely. The clerk asked if I needed anything else. I said no. I walked outside, sat in the car, and read the email again. Then I called Maya. It's done, I said. Tell me. Voided. All of it. The liability goes back to them. She exhaled. You owe nothing. I owe nothing. Another email came in while we were still on the call. The revised invoice. Sent to my parents. Copied to me. $38,000. Due within 60 days. Failure to pay would result in legal action. 60 days. $38,000. For a wedding they couldn't afford. Signed with a name that wasn't theirs to use. I placed the phone down and drove to the airport. The flight back to London was 18 hours. I slept for 14 of them. The deepest sleep I had had in weeks. 3 days later, Lila called. I was in my kitchen watching the river through the window. Her voice was different. Quieter. Tyler canceled the honeymoon, she said. He says he can't trust me until I'm honest about everything. That sounds like a conversation you need to have with your husband. He wants me to use the deposit to help pay the venue. $8,000. Are you going to silence? Then I think I have to. She hesitated. Dana. I need help. Could you talk to him? Tell him I'm not a bad person? No. The word came easily. That's your marriage. Your truth to explain. I'm not stepping into that. She started crying. Not the same kind of crying from before. Not performance. Something real. I was wrong, she said. I know I was wrong. Knowing isn't the same as fixing it. Then how do I fix it? You start with the truth. With him. With yourself. And you stop treating other people's names like something you're entitled to use. The call ended shortly after. No resolution, no forgiveness. Just distance. And honesty. I stood by the window holding a cup of tea, watching the river move slowly under the gray sky. Some things don't resolve quickly. Some things shouldn't. Later that week, my father called. His voice was different. Flat. The venue is threatening legal action, he said. I'm going to have to sell the truck. Maybe some of the equipment from the store. You put yourself in this position. I know. 2 words. No excuses. No anger. Just the truth he couldn't avoid anymore. I know, my father said again. Just that. I know. Then he went quiet for a second, like he was reaching for a version of himself that no longer worked. I didn't think, he said finally. I thought you'd just pay. I thought that's what you do. I thought because you had the money you would cover it and not ask questions. I stood by the window in my flat looking out at the lights along Canary Wharf. Across the river, a crane blinked red in the dark. Yes, I said. Because that's what I've always done. Handled things quietly. Gone back to London. Not made a scene. Yes. There was a long pause. Then he said, There's something else. I didn't answer. The venue was just the big one. I also signed your name on the rental agreement for the tables and chairs, another $4,500. I closed my eyes. $42,500 total. In my name. Without a word to me. Dad, I said, I'm not going to lecture you. The venue has voided the contract. I'm out. Whatever happens next, the payments, the truck, the consequences, those are yours. I'm sorry, Dana. I hear you. I mean it. I know you do. But sorry doesn't erase a forged signature. And it doesn't erase being told I wasn't family at my own sister's wedding. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said it once more. I know. And he hung up. I had already been back in London for a week by then, but the whole story kept settling in me slowly like sediment in a glass of water. Layer by layer until I could finally see all the way to the bottom. The morning after my father's call, I went for a walk along the river before work. The water was the color of pewter and the air was cold enough to sting. I passed the same joggers I always pass, the same man walking his terrier near West Ferry Circus. My phone buzzed. A message from Aunt Rebecca. Dana, I owe you a real apology. I should have asked for your side before I believed anyone else. I'm sorry. Then Uncle Martin. I said things I shouldn't have. I was wrong. Then Luke. You're the strongest person I know. Seriously. I sat on a bench by the river and read all 3 messages. 3 apologies from people who had been ready to cut me off a week earlier. But nothing from my father. Nothing from my mother. Nothing from Lila. The 3 people who actually owed me those words. I put my phone away and watched a tourist boat cut through the gray water. Winning didn't feel the way I thought it would. I had imagined something cleaner. Closure. Relief. A door shutting with a neat click. Instead, it felt like cleaning out a wound. Necessary. Unavoidable. But it still stung. Maya called me that evening. How are you? Honestly. Relieved, sad, tired. All 3 at once. All 3 at once, she repeated. That sounds right. Then she told me about a new case at her firm. A contractor dispute. Nothing dramatic. Normal things. Human things. That was what Maya had always done for me. Some people hold you up by being extraordinary. Maya held me up by being steady. 3 months later, life looked different for everyone. My father sold the black SUV he had leased for the wedding. It turned out to be a 36-month lease, another performance he couldn't actually afford. He also liquidated what was left of the home supply business. Between the truck, some equipment, and a small loan from Uncle Martin, he managed to pay $22,000 toward the venue debt. The remaining balance, roughly $20,000, including the table and chair rental, was pushed into a monthly payment plan. $500 a month. My parents' retirement got pushed back by at least 4 years. My mother got a job. For the first time in 30 years, Elaine Whitman was working part-time as a cashier at a grocery store. I heard that from Luke, not from her. Lila and Brent were still together, but the honeymoon was gone. Lila had given up the Bali deposit $8,000 to help pay the venue debt. They were in couples counseling. Brent's condition for staying. He told her that financial transparency was no longer optional. Every account, every statement, every dollar. Rosebridge Manor chose not to pursue criminal charges. Most businesses don't in cases like this. A payment plan is cheaper and cleaner than a prosecution. My father would not have a criminal record. What he would have was debt, a damaged reputation, and the knowledge that he had been exposed in front of every person whose respect he had spent a lifetime trying to stage. Then in March, a letter arrived at my flat. No return address. But I recognized the handwriting immediately. My mother's. Careful. Slanted. Controlled. It was only one page. I have no right to ask for anything, but I want you to know that I'm learning what it means to earn a relationship instead of demanding one. I set the letter down on the kitchen table beside my tea. I didn't write back. Not because I was angry, because I wasn't ready. And for the first time in my life, I let that be enough. London kept moving. The river changed with the season. Pewter to slate to something almost green when spring arrived. I went to work. I read contracts. I caught discrepancies that saved clients money they would never know they almost lost. Then I came home to my flat in Canary Wharf, made tea, and stood by the window. But something in me had changed. I started saying yes to things I used to turn down. A colleague's dinner invitation. A weekend trip to Edinburgh with Maya when she visited in April. A long phone call from Luke that covered nothing important and everything that mattered. For years, I had confused self-reliance with isolation. I had built a life that was clean and ordered and entirely mine. And somewhere along the way, mine had started to mean alone. That trip home didn't fix that. But it cracked something open, enough to let light in. In May, I called Lila. It was a short conversation. No mention of the contract, no mention of the venue, no mention of the $38,000, no apologies, no accusations, just two sisters speaking for the first time without an agenda underneath the words. "How's work?" she asked. "Busy. Good busy. Good busy. How's Brent?" "We're working on it. Counseling helps." "Good." There was a small silence. Then she said, "Dana." "Yeah. I'm glad you called." That was all. No dramatic reconciliation, no tears, no perfect ending. Just a door left open a few inches. Not because anyone had earned their way back through it yet. Because I was starting to realize that keeping it nailed shut forever was costing me more than I wanted to admit. Strength is not carrying everyone else's weight. It's knowing which burdens are yours and putting down the ones that aren't. I had finally put mine down, and my hands were free. It's evening in London now. The sky over Canary Wharf is that late spring shade of blue that goes deep at the edges and pale gold where the city lights touch the river. I'm sitting by the window in my flat with a cup of Earl Grey that's gone lukewarm, which is honestly how I like it. Sometimes I still think about that day. The gravel path, the white roses, the string quartet playing through the doors of a venue I wasn't allowed to enter. Leave. Only family is allowed. My father said that to me in front of a door he had already decided to close. And in a way, he was right. Only family was allowed. The problem was that he had forgotten what family actually is. Family is not a performance you stage for an audience. It is not a contract you sign with someone else's hand. It is not a bill you slide across the table and expect someone to pay because they happen to share your blood. Family is the people who show up not because they owe you, but because they choose to. It's Maya who walked into a hotel room with coffee and told me not to run. It's Luke who sent the screenshot that changed everything. It's the version of Lila who said months later, "I'm glad you called and meant it." I look at my passport on the shelf sometimes. The signature inside is mine. Clean. Certain. Unforged. My name is Dana Whitman. I'm 34 years old. I work in compliance. I live alone in a flat by the river. And I'm still learning that saying no to what harms you is another way of saying yes to who you are. Nobody signs my name but me. And that is enough. That is finally enough. I learned that being strong isn't about enduring everything in silence, but knowing when to say, "This is not mine to carry." There's a difference between helping and being used, between family and obligation. If you were in my place, would you have stayed quiet, or would you have spoken up when the truth mattered most? I'm curious, did you stay with me until the end of this story? If you did, thank you truly. And if this meant something to you, even a little, your support can do more than you think. One subscribe, one like, one share from you could help this story reach someone who needs the courage to draw their own boundary. Sometimes doing something small here can make a real difference out there.